cover story, our weekly political news magazine. This week I caught up with Prithviraj Chavan, Chief Minister of Maharashtra, and spoke to him about the rising number of rapes in Bombay, maximum city but also maximum rapes. I also asked him about his ally Sharad Pawar's recent controversial comments about Rahul Gandhi, and also how his Mr. Clean image is faring in a city that is known for its political builder nexus. Watch this interview. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Prithviraj Chavan, is both a dynast and a professional. Both his parents were Lok Sabha MPs from Karad in Maharashtra, with his father Anand Rao Chavan serving in Nehru, Shastri and Indira Gandhi's cabinets. Chavan himself holds a Master of Science degree from Berkeley, University of California. The mechanical engineering background helped when he held the Ministry of Atomic Sciences portfolio, along with the much more volatile post of MOS PMO and Parliamentary Affairs in Manmohan Singh's government. While he was in the PMO, the affable Chavan worked as a bridge between Ten Janpath and the PMO, as he has a good equation with both the power centres. But it was in November 2010, when the Congress needed a clean image to replace the other scam-tainted Ashok Chavan, that the party sent Prithviraj to Maharashtra as CM. In the state, his penchant for playing by the rulebook has led to many clashes with the NCP and also with some of his own legislators who have been lobbying for his removal. But despite his detractors, Chavan remains untouched, for he has the support of Ten Janpath. Welcome to NewsX, Mr. Chavan. My first question, I want to take you back to what one of your Maharashtra leaders has said, Sharad Pawar. He said that I will not want to serve under Rahul Gandhi. He's too young and inexperienced. And he's given this view that Rahul should actually have joined the cabinet. Do you agree with him?
Well, I think perhaps Mr. Pawar has not known Rahul Gandhi closely. We have had an opportunity to interact with him on many occasions. So I think his impression of Mr. Rahul Gandhi is that of a impression created by media.
You're blaming us for it?
And by his not being close and all that. I think he's a very warm, very intelligent person, extremely hard-working person. He's very genuinely sympathetic about the poor people. And I think, yes, he could have a view on whether he should have joined the government or not. There are two sides to it. Some people think that he should have got some experience of working in the government. Other people think that he concentrated on the job that was given to him by the Congress president.
No, fair enough. You are saying that he should be sympathetic to the poor. My problem, or Pawar's problem, he's not sympathetic to the rich allies. You know, there's no meeting with Rahul and Pawar, only one meeting that we know of so far. Shouldn't he be reaching out to the allies? It's an era of coalitions.
But he is now, only now, after Jaipur, has he gotten national responsibility.
8 months ho gaya. 8 months mein only one meeting.
Of the meeting. And I think, yes, you could argue that he should be meeting with the national leaders of all political parties. But Mr. Pawar is entitled to his views. But I think Mr. Rajiv Gandhi did not have any experience. Mr. Chandrasekhar did not. So I think it's not necessary. Mrs. Gandhi had only limited experience when she became the Prime Minister of being a minister for a very short time. I think he has had his apprenticeship for a very long time. He has understood issues, discussed issues. He has interacted very intensely with the Congress party for that matter. And so I think he is entitled to his views. I have no quarrel with that. But it will be Congress party's decision about who leads the Congress party.
But it's not just Pawar, even Pranab Mukherjee. In fact, he said this to an interview to me. He says that, you know, I would, when I asked him, would you be serving in a cabinet under Rahul Gandhi? He was then the minister, finance minister, and he had laughed and he had said, how old will I be? I don't think I'll be serving under Rahul. So it's not just Pawar, but even Pranab. A lot of people have that apprehension.
No, I think I won't talk about the president of India, what happened, who said what. But I think point is, when Mr. Rajiv Gandhi became the Prime Minister, many had apprehension. And we know that abroad also, many people did not want to serve under young Prime Ministers or young Presidents, or felt slighted by it. But I think if you look at the global scenario, young people are leading their countries. Why shouldn't a young man lead the Congress party and become the Prime Minister of the country?
So my next question is that why isn't he declaring himself as a Prime Minister candidate?
But generally Congress culture is that we do not
But in
normally
2009, Manmohan Singh did go as the PM candidate.
Yeah, but he was the sitting PM.
Okay.
That happens when even Mr. Rajiv Gandhi led the country into the 89 election. He was the Prime Minister. So when you are the Prime Minister and you lead the campaign, there is no need to declare anybody. It's only when you are in the opposition that you need either to declare or not declare.
Congressmen may elect Rahul, but what about allies? I mean, nobody's giving anybody a full majority over here, the way the situation is right now. You'll need allies, but Rahul hasn't met Mamta, he hasn't kept up with DMK. You know, Lalu is very unhappy. He sees this whole ordinance Rao is being targeted specifically towards him. So who are the allies? We keep saying Modi has no allies, but Rahul ke paas kaun se hain?
No, I think it's allies of Congress party. It is not a ally of a person, individual.
But individual matters in today's politics.
It does matter. But I think what will happen is when the numbers come out after the elections, the largest party will be invited to form the government, and largest party will invite the like-minded political parties to join the government. And I think that's a process as has always happened.
Right.
And the point is, if the Congress party chooses to declare him before elections as a prime ministerial candidate, then he will of course have meetings. Right now, the leadership of the Congress party is in the hands of Mrs. Gandhi, her political advisors, her cabinet, senior cabinet colleagues, the core group has constant meetings with the political leaders. So I think it is the alliance with the Congress party that other political parties will have to decide on.
Okay, what about specifically now Maharashtra? I mean, NCP is giving you trouble not just in Delhi but also in Maharashtra. We had Sharad Pawar make a rather personal attack against you when he says the CM doesn't sign files, 3 months decisions are pending. How do you work this out?
No, I think these are normal little frictions and aberrations which happen in running a coalition government. I don't think
he is targeting you personally, Mr. Chavan.
No, I don't think I don't take it that way.
But even the fact that his first Congress CM of choice would have been somebody else and not you.
No, but that's fine. That he is entitled to his choice, and Congress party has to make a decision.
Right.
But I have told then, and I told repeatedly, that I am trying to focus on issues which affect the larger public, and
not a builder's lobby.
Any individual decisions are there, they have to be taken on merit. If there are difficult decisions which require rule changes, I mean, they require to be considered. Rules have to be changed. Sometimes laws have to be changed. So that takes time. But I don't think that's a big issue. I think we've had many meetings after that, and people tend to play up some of these things. But I think we've got excellent relations. Our single-minded focus now is to concentrate on ensuing election and to make sure that Maharashtra remains secular.
But see, again, this idea of secular, we had the NCP joining up with this third front dais, and even Maharashtra, Pawar said he was sharing a dais with Gadkari and saying that nobody is untouchable. That's not sending a very strong message to the Congress.
So I think whatever message he wants to send through attending, I understand that the program that Mr. Pawar attended with Mr. Gadkari was a program of his sugar mill or Purti group, and he has got many industries which his group runs. So it was a program coordinated by that commercial
undertaking. But to go there and say no one is an untouchable, Pawar doesn't, I mean, he sends these kind of signals.
That he said earlier also. If you remember in 2004 also, some similar statements had come, and I think we should take them at face value. That's fine. I mean, but I think I don't think anybody should doubt his secular credentials, his upbringing, his political background has always been secular.
But there's also this thing of seat sharing in Maharashtra. There's some problems on that also that Congress and NCP are having. You know, your state PCC leader is saying something else. Do you have a problem within the Congress also?
No. Congress party would like to make sure that both of us contest the right amount of seat and right seats at that. So that wherever Congress party has got a better chance of winning the seat, we should contest. Whether NCP has got a better chance of winning, NCP should contest.
Also, Prithvi, you have a image of being Mr. Clean. You know, that's one big asset that you took to Maharashtra with you. But the NCP has this image of being involved in builders mafia, sugar lobby. Does that impact your own personal credibility?
I think these are all appellations and labels.
You're giving NCP a clean chit now.
No, created by media. I think what I'm trying to say, whatever they claim and all that is unfair, because by singling out one person to call whatever, it means you are painting everybody else in a black brush, which is not fair. I think what I'm trying to do is trying to bring in more rule-based governance, so that people make whatever rules you want, pro-poor rules or faster development rules or whatever. Once you make the rule, it's for the administration to implement those rules which the political executive makes. We make the laws in assembly. Whatever laws we make, they have to be executed by the bureaucracy. Then we can't question bureaucracy. Because if you make the laws, then bureaucracy has to adjust it, and bureaucracy has to implement those laws. Then we can't tell them not to implement this particular law or to implement that law differently or give somebody a relief. That cannot be done.
But there is pressure from the NCP to do that. Some NCP legislators.
No, I mean there are genuine concerns, and there are some decisions which genuinely get delayed, and I admit that although file clearances, we can look at the numbers. The file clearances are faster, but maybe some policy decisions which are a little complicated, which require rule changes, I mean, have to be considered at length. So all that I'm saying is that difficult, intractable issues where you have to build consensus, you have to reach across to opposition parties to build a consensus, they take time. And otherwise, if you can look at the number of files created by me, by my predecessors, and you will say there's no problem there.
So the delay of files is not a correct charge that has been levied against you.
I think some particular problems of particular issues, individual cases may have been delayed because they require some rule changes or some wider consideration. But now there is a lot of scrutiny happening from NGOs, from civil society, from courts. There is RTI. So you just can't just get a great hurry like it used to happen earlier. There is just sign a file and close the file and then nobody will ever see it again.
It's going to come back
right or wrong. Now you have to be answerable to whatever you do.
The law and order situation in Bombay, we've had two very horrific rape cases. One is very recent. What are you doing about that? Because Bombay was known to be a city where girls could roam around freely at whatever hour of the night.
Well, I think if you look at the crime rate, that is the number of crimes that happen every lakh, then Mumbai is better than many other cities, I can tell you that. But I don't accept that. Although the crime rate appears to be relatively less, I don't accept any crime, any rape or any violence against women. That is a blot on the state if any one case happens. So if one or two cases have happened, it's bad, and I think what we can do is whatever happened, we immediately apprehended the guilty, the case has been launched, the case is under trial now in a record time. And the other case has happened recently, I think I'm getting reports on that also. We are trying to sensitize the police. We've got highest number of women police. We recruit 30% of our total police force is women. No other state has that kind of record. No, it's been there for some time. A stricter punishment for rape, a stricter punishment for minors, or redefining the minor status. That is for the parliament to legislate.
Are you going to ask them to, are you lobbying for it?
We have given our views to the commission which was sent. We have given our views on that.
Okay, and then also now a little more nationally, you've been also with the PMO, with Manmohan Singh's, how would you, he's coming to an end of his thing, what would you say has been his most remarkable achievement, aside from the nuclear deal?
No, I think it was Dr. Manmohan Singh who architectured the 91 reforms.
But it's not the same Manmohan Singh that's here.
But 91 reforms...
And you yourself are such a pro-reformist. How do you deal with this whole soft economy?
I'll tell you that 91 reforms completely changed the idiom. We started creating India story, which got a boost in the year 2000 when the Y2K problem gave an opportunity to Indian software engineers. The rest of the world discovered Indian prowess in software. And 2004, when the UPA government came, I think the story really began, the India story, the foundation of which was laid in 1991, really began to unfurl with huge growth rates of 9-10. I was part of that government, and we had 8 and 9% rates of growth of GDP. The 2008 crisis, the failure of Lehman Bank in America brought global crisis, and we also suffered. And I don't think we really come out of that. It's a continuation of that crisis. So I think the 2004 UPA 1, continuing with UPA 2, created growth rates which gave us enormous financial clout to bring in whole lot of new legislation, whole lot of legislation based on rights, right to education, right to work, right to information.
But right to welfare economy also, right to doles, right to softs.
No, I think it's not fair to call right to work a dole. It is anybody who wants to work is being given opportunity to work and earn a living.
Right to food?
A right to food is a food being given at low cost, so that nobody. It's not fair to call right to work a dole. It is anybody who wants to work is being given opportunity to work and earn a living.
Right to food?
A right to food is a food being given at low cost, so that nobody sleeps hungry. Now there are a lot of distortions built in the economy over the years. Those distortions cannot be corrected overnight, but I think the basic distortion is that the guarantee that nobody will be allowed to sleep hungry, the Garibi Hatao guarantee slogan that Indira ji had given, that really stands fulfilled with the right to food, the legislation that we have passed. I think it's historic legislation. I think if the government gets tax revenue and a huge amount of tax revenue because of the growth of economy, I think we should give it back to the people.
We are not getting it. We are implementing it at a time where you yourself said that we haven't yet got over the crisis of 2008.
No, but that's all right. The crisis of 2008 was not our creation.
It wasn't, but it is. We are stuck with it.
But yes, we had to. But in spite of that, what we achieved in between 2004 and 2008 has given us so much clout. You name it, a huge number of programs we could run because we had the clout, we had the money to do that, and we spent it rightly, and we are seeing the benefits in the rural area. Rural economy is revived. There's a purchasing power in the hands of poor people. There's no more migration because of.
But the onions are costing too much. It's out of the hands.
That's because you must understand that because of the untimely rains in Maharashtra, because of less area under cultivation, the onion coming to the mandis in Maharashtra was less than average. And that's why prices tend to vary. But
what about hoarders backed by your ally, Mr. Pawar?
No, I don't accept. Neither did he back hoarders. I think Maharashtra government actually paid the farmers to create a storage facility so that they get a better return. It is central government and Maharashtra government created those temporary, small, informal storage facility in the house, the farmer, every farmer. And the farmers are keeping the onions back to get a better price. But hoarding, it can only be called hoarding if a trader buys it and keeps it and doesn't bring it to the market. I think we have had a very strict vigil against traders who are hoarding it. I had even offered the Delhi Chief Minister to come and send a team to buy onions which are available. When onions were being sold in Delhi for 100 rupees, onions were available in Nasik Mandi for 40. Somebody should have just came, bought the onions in Nasik and taken into Delhi within 24 hours. The truck reaches Delhi and made sure that the prices get tempered.
Why didn't this happen? You offered the Delhi CM.
I offered the Delhi CM. Delhi CM sent a team. 3 officers came to Nasik. They went to all the mandis, but I don't know why they didn't buy. And in order to control the prices in Mumbai, our marketing department created under Mr. Minister for Marketing, Mr. Radhakrishna Vikhe Patil, started about 160 outlets in Mumbai. So the farm produce could directly reach the outlets and we could sell vegetables, 16, 17 vegetables at controlled prices to people. I mean, we have taken steps. I think like Andhra Pradesh government or Tamil Nadu government to directly come to Nasik and buy onions there, Delhi government should have also bought it. The prices would have been slightly moderated.
But Andhra Pradesh government and Tamil Nadu government came directly and bought.
They always do. They have been coming and buying it directly for a long time.
So what went wrong with Delhi then? I mean,
I think they'll have to put together a system, either through NAFED or through their own private traders. I think government probably had chosen not to intervene directly, but they should have asked the traders to come to Nasik, and we were ready to offer them onions from as low as 35-40 rupees to 50-55 rupees when the onions are being sold for 100. The transportation cost is only about 2 to 3 rupees, and onions, if loaded in Nasik, reach Delhi Mandi within 24 hours. So I think that should have been done.
Indian prices could have been...
Well, it could have been moderated, I wouldn't say, because the arrivals were low at that time. Now arrivals are happening, and I don't think there will be a problem anymore.
Mr. Chavan, Mr. Pawar has said that he's contesting the Maharashtra Cricket Association, but Munde tried to oppose him, he could not. Would you be standing and giving him some competition?
No, I think factually, the elections to Maharashtra Cricket Association are already over, and Mr. Pawar has already got elected as a president. The controversy I think, arose because Mr. Munde chose to contest against him. Now, I came in the picture simply because I chose to become a member of a club. There was a club in Mumbai called Basgaon Cricket Club, which was represented by late Vilasrauji Deshmukh, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. After Vilasrauji passed away, the club members came to me and said that traditionally Chief Minister of Maharashtra gets associated with cricket because cricket is too important for Mumbai and for Maharashtra, and that Manohar Joshi was part of it, Sharad Pawarji was part of it, Vilasrauji became the president of Maharashtra Cricket Association. Would I like to become part and at least occupy the position which late Vilasrauji occupied? So I agreed because I have had cricket in my family. I have played cricket all my young days.
Which role do you play? Are you a good batsman or a bowler?
So I used to be a off-spin bowler, and I was
bowling googly still, political googly now.
I played university cricket. I chose only to become a member of a club, which was represented by late Vilasrauji Deshmukh. So the Maharashtra Chief Minister is a member. Never did I say that I am contesting the SV election. It was a media hype. They just put 2 and 2 together. Because the fact that I became a member, they thought I'd contest and challenge the existing leadership. But I think elections are over. Mr. Pawar has been elected. There is some controversy about the rejection of the nomination paper of Mr. Munde. But Munde wanted to contest. And I don't know what's happening to that case.
Okay, a little bit about yourself, Prithvi. You were a Delhi person. We see you as a Delhi person, though you are from Maharashtra. But when you were sent to Maharashtra, did you feel like out of sorts over there, or were you comfortable?
No, I think I went back home. Maharashtra is my home. Although I spent a lot of time in studies outside, and in Delhi from 91 I came to Parliament State. So I've been outside Maharashtra for a long time. But I'm basically from Maharashtra. It's a great honor to be picked to lead my state. And so initially, of course, there were little difficulties because I had not worked in the state government at all, and neither was an MLA in the state government. So the culture, the work organization, the ministerial distribution of work, the officials, the geography of the state, and understanding the state took some time. But I deem it a great honor that I was asked to go to Maharashtra in a very difficult time for the state. And I think it will be almost 3 years will be completed next week. I think I have at least stabilized situation, and I think we are trying to usher in a rule-based government, and the public-based decisions that we've taken are phenomenal. We have brought down the malnutrition rate, which has been lauded by UNICEF. We have launched many health-related schemes. This year we'll be launching something like 5,000 to 6,000 crore worth of infrastructure projects in city of Mumbai. Commissioning, not launching. We'll be commissioning about 5,000 to 6,000 crore worth of projects, and almost 30,000 crore worth of projects are on the drawing board stage to be launched.
Okay. Well, I'm going to interrupt you because I know once you start on your achievements, you're not going to stop. But, no interview these days is complete without Modi. How do you see this Rahul and Modi battle panning out?
No, I think BJP has declared Mr. Modi as their prime ministerial candidate. They're entitled to do that.
But, we have Modi versus a vacuum. Won't you be more this thing to declare Rahul? It is a Rahul versus Modi battle, whether you like it or not.
No, the point is it is basically Congress versus BJP, ideological battle of a secular state which were created over the last 66 years